Здравствуйте, товарища. Have you ever had those Slavic moments when you just look at your BT5 and wonder why Gregoritz forgot his firewood on your tank? Куда дебил но кеталогов? Блять.
Палку давай, блядь! Дебил ебучий!
Well, no. Most of you might already know the primary function of this luxurious feature, so I'll start with the most obvious reason, which is, you guessed it, unditching. As seen here, in practical application, if the tank crew falls victim to the annoying situation of getting stuck in mud, the crew would simply unstrap the log from behind the tank, strap it to the front of the vehicle, while getting nice and muddy in the process, after which the driver would drive the tank forward half a track length, and in theory you should be unditched. That's all good and well, until you have to do it during battle. The practice of using and carrying unditching logs isn't only exclusive for tanks, but as seen here, it's also quite popular in the off-road community. Except you don't really have to watch out for 76mm shells flying at your face at uncomfortable velocities. Of course, since Eastern European engineering has versatility in mind, the logs did have another purpose. Logs were often used as applique armor, but judging by the images I could find, it seemed to be a more common trend with German tankers. Although this was not an ideal substitute for normal steel armor. The idea was that, in theory, in case of armor-piercing ammunition, the cylindrical shape of the log should, in theory, deflect the incoming round and drain enough energy so that the round can't make it through the steel armor behind the log. However, in practice, the wood will split since the shell goes through the grain. But there were some lucky cases, as seen with this unexploded artillery shell. Although protection against heat rounds was a bit more successful, since the thickness of the log created space between the detonation of the charge and the actual steel armor. Actually, the army of Thailand uses wooden planks as a cheap way to make spaced armor as protection against heat rounds. Granted, against armor piercing or even small arms fire, this is practically ineffective. As a matter of fact, the log armor seems slightly more effective than the welded track applique armor of the M4 Sherman, because unfortunately the soft steel of the track had a tendency of catching the tip of the AP's shell, so in the instance where the shot would be bounced off normally, it would have been guided to drill back into the tank and do horrible things to your crew. So why did such a trend die out? Well, more and more of these guys started coming along. With more and more recovery vehicles coming along, and overall armored vehicle logistics and formations moving on from World War II and Cold War doctrine, the idea of the log became outdated, which is why you don't really see a log on the side of the Armata. But wait! Perkele! Logs weren't only used to save tanks, but if you rewind back to 1939, during the Winter War, Finland actually used logs to disable Russian tanks by jamming the log between the drive sprocket and the track. Yup, an anti-tank piece of wood. Why? Because Finland. Anywho, I hope you guys found this video informative. If you liked it, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about it. Really looking forward to growing this channel and you guys joining the ride. Thanks guys. See ya.